Along my career path, the entrepreneur's journey was always appealing to me. I was selling shoes, I was selling sneakers, sneaker accessories, a little bit of everything, but they were all short-lived. I was in it for the wrong reasons, but the passion really wasn't behind it. When I was on YouTube randomly one time and I saw where the host, where he was out after the games interviewing the fans, and you saw the passion of that fan base coming out, and those clips would go viral. And I just saw a different type of consumption for sports content. This is New York. Like, there's no bigger city or market than this. I'm like, why don't we have this? You look at the local coverage, it's okay, Knicks won the game, here's why they won, and here's the Westminster Dog Show after.
Yeah,
right?
it's true. That is true.
Because the team wasn't good, it's not good business to do a whole hour segment on the team. Those fans that were like me from the 90s, they were still there. And so that's why I wanted to kind of create that content for those fans, for the fans like me that still want to tap in on the day-to-day aspects of the team.
Let's flat out. Big teams, big boys, alright?
My highs and lows, inherit growth, Mr. Deeds. Went from juggling 3 jobs to CEO like I'm Steve. Never been a rotten apple, call me John Appleseed. That's how I bleed. God can see, no other man can judge me. Call him Mike, Mr. International, getting cream. Single mother told me worth, and now I'm worth everything. Went from Wall Street to Abu Dhabi, straight rolling in a Maserati with women that feel exotic. My life too prestige.
Man, you didn't have to do them like that, man. You didn't have to do them like that.
It was film day.
Yeah.
We gotta make a statement.
Exactly. We gotta make a statement.
What's going on, man?
Flat out.
Welcome back to a New York edition of Last Flat Out Podcast. I'm your host, Mike, along with my co-host, Jay. We have a very special edition today, as you can see, rocking some New York team fare, But before anything, I need you to like, subscribe, and share on our YouTube page, Last Flat Out Podcast, as well as on all our social media channels. You can follow us at Last Flat Out Podcast, and then you can follow myself at If Mike Was Here on Instagram. Also, you can follow my host, Jay, at
JLubriel26 across all of my social media channels. And today we're excited to introduce a guest who's a rising star in sports media and fan engagement. He's the host and founder behind one of the most influential platforms for Knicks fans worldwide. His deep knowledge and passion for the game has earned him appearances on ESPN, SNY, WFAN, Pix 11, and most recently as a media and broadcast instructor with the Sports Business Classroom at the NBA Summer League. Through his platform, he's built a loyal global community that provides everything from post-game breakdowns and real-time fan reactions. We're excited to dive into his journey, how he scaled his platform, and his insights into content creation and the current state of the Knicks. So without any further ado, welcome the founder and host of Knicks Fan TV, the #1 show for the fans, by the fans, CP the Fanchise.
Salute, man.
Man, salute.
Welcome,
salute to
man.
Knicks Nation.
Thanks for being here.
Anyway, man, I just want to say, I want to give you your flowers because I've been following your platform since the Julius trade. And honestly, you've been the hallmark of consistency, perseverance, and honestly building your platform in a real sustainable way. And none of that clickbait stuff, like real, accurate, entertaining, just storytelling and almost narrative speaking around the team. So I just wanted to give you your flowers, and thanks a lot for making the time today.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate the support as well.
Man, I appreciate that, man.
Yeah. How we like to start the show is we have a section called Word Association. So I'm going to tell you a word, and then you let us know, your thoughts or the first thing that comes to your mind when I mention it.
Sure.
So our word of the day is Madison Square Garden.
Madison Square Garden, man, home of many memories. Many memories for me as a Knicks fan. For like the early days was John Starks' dunk. It was the Knicks closing out the Pacers in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals in 1994, and Patrick Ewing jumping on the table and hugging the random fans on the sideline. Like those memories. I mean, even as a wrestling fan, I remember going to pay-per-views at Madison Square Garden. I'm at the Royal Rumble. I'm at SummerSlam. All of that. And just an iconic place in New York City, and just a place that we've all called home, for so many years.
Definitely.
Absolutely. It can definitely resonate to that. And CP, I think before everyone can appreciate the man that's in front of us right now, I think we have to take it all the way back. You're a New Yorker through and through. How about you take us a little bit through your childhood, how basketball you used to play when you were younger, how influential was that, growing up in New York?
Always loved the game. Always loved New York sports, period, right? But when it just came to basketball, I always tell the story. It just goes back to those classic NBA on NBC games where it would be the Knicks versus the Bulls, obviously. Knicks versus Pacers or versus the Celtics. And one thing that I've always loved about sports and all sports is that it's a nonfiction story where the script unfolds over, it's not pre-established. It's not predetermined. The script unfolds after each second, after each minute. And you see the true stories that come out of that.
Right.
And they always say with storytelling, in terms of storytelling structure, it's about the hero's journey. Where it's like the main character, the obstacle he needs to face, and does he get there at the end? Well, for the Knicks, they were that underdog, lunch-pail group trying to get past Jordan and the Bulls, the greatest basketball player who ever lived, always embarrassed them every chance he got. And so I was always rooting for those guys with the New York on their chest because they were that underdog. It was the David and Goliath story. Right. Yeah. I wanted to see them ultimately reign supreme at the top. And even the heartbreak at Game 7, those stories just unfolded before you, and it made me more and more passionate about that team because those guys always gave it their all.
Right.
So growing up, is your household a New York fan base of anything, or was it one game that you're like, man, this team, I vibe with them, and they just happen to be the New York Knicks, and then it takes off from there?
Yeah, it was just the Knicks and the classic rivalries, man.
Okay.
You had no choice but to get into it. And Marv, telling that soundtrack and just the previews, the opening montage that Bob Costas used to do, all of that just played into that theater, and you had no choice but to sit and just be enthralled with everything that was going on. Knicks versus Heat. Yes. Pat Riley leaving the Knicks, going to the Heat, making a carbon copy of that team, and then everybody just brawling every series.
Do you remember there was a particular moment you were like, this is my team?
Stark Stunk.
The Stark Stunk.
Stark Stunk.
For me personally, it was the Allen Houston floater in Miami. That's why this is my team. Because they were the 8th seed. They were the underdogs the entire time. My dad was a Miami Heat fan at one point. I don't want to get into that. But I remember just seeing him just sad. I was like, this is my team right here.
Yeah.
They were the David in the story, right? And they weren't supposed to win that series. And that's what really did it to me. But just going off of what you were saying in the 90s, and that team kind of represents the city. Right. It represents who I am as a person, as a New Yorker. I'm pretty sure it represents you from what I know about you and Mike as well. So, I mean, obviously growing up, the Knicks were such a huge influence. Did you have any other passions, or did you gravitate towards other interests when you were growing up?
It was always around sports. Just loving basketball around the Knicks. Then later on in the 90s, the Yankees started getting it popping. So I was, just into the Yankees and going to the championship parades and just seeing New Yorkers with their pride and their fandom on display. Later on, it was the Giants. I was always rocking with the Giants, from the LT days, early 90s, small memories of Wide Right when they beat the Bills and won the Super Bowl. And from then, I was always bleeding blue. Then they won it in 2007, another underdog story. Yeah. Beating the Patriots 17-0. Right. It's those things that just got me deeper and deeper in love with those teams, man.
Yeah, I'm sorry for your Giants fandom. It's brutal right now.
You're not a Giants fan? Man. Oh, you mean now?
I'm a fantasy football guy. I feel bad for myself too, but it's tough times.
It's gonna be a long road to glory.
It is.
Long road.
So, was there a moment or experience that you had, in your teenage, young adulthood, that sort of influenced the type of sort of fan or content creator that you are today?
I wouldn't say that there was a moment. I think as a child, I always had that dream of working in sports at some capacity. At first, it's as an athlete, and then you realize we're not gonna get there.
Sometimes the knees.
Yeah. I had them straps like Glenn Rice. I had them Glenn Rice these straps, but so you realize you're not gonna get there, and then you try to figure out where in the business can I fit in. But especially in the 2000s, when I started going to college and things of that nature, the opportunities were just few and far between. Right.
Yeah.
So even though it was always my passion to work in sports, I just didn't see a lane where I could actually, make a good living and establish a career there. So I had to pivot and went the, typical business route.
No, and we'll transition into that, but at least on the legal side, people are willing to work in sports teams for practically damn near free.
Yeah.
And in a place like New York, I don't know how people balance the two, but unless you got a trust fund and able to do your passions, it's like kind of hard to like marry your passion for sports and actually making a good living unless you got years in the game, right? So shout out to you. But before we get to the Knicks Fan TV platform, what were you up to before Knicks Fan TV? You mentioned that you went the business route. So
this episode is brought to you by BetterHelp, because sometimes you can't do it alone. If you're anything like me and you're balancing your career, a podcast, and your personal life, all while living in a fast-paced environment like New York City, finding time for your mental health may seem impossible, but that's exactly what you need to do. Therapy shouldn't feel like one extra thing on your plate. BetterHelp's online platform makes it easy for you to connect with a therapist who best fits your schedule. You can switch therapists at any time at no additional cost, so you always have the right support. Most of us are not encouraged to open up about our feelings, so we push through the stress, the anxiety, and anything else that life throws at us. I can tell you from personal experience that not opening up can have a real toll on your health, your work, and your relationships. That's why having a space where you can just talk, no stigma, no judgment, is so important. Therapy doesn't make you weak. It's about having the strength to deal with what's really going on.
visit betterhelp.com/LFOpod to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LFOpod.
Yeah, so I was actually a vice president at an investment bank here in the city.
Okay, cool.
Fighting cybercrime.
I feel like that's how everyone ends up. Kind of like, the finance industry takes us New Yorkers.
Yeah,
you know?
I did, man. After the financial crisis, I went back. I was working in sales previously. I was a Rupert Murdoch soldier, selling supermarket advertisements actually. Okay. And when the crisis hit, I said, I want to go back to school and get something that would allow me to be more in demand. And so I went in for IT and cyber risk, which is something that I was actually into. Right. And went down to Atlanta, got my grad degree, and then came back home and started working in the financial services industry. And as a VP in cybersecurity, man.
It makes sense. That's the reason why he doesn't have an Apple phone, because he understands that's not secure
that's why
at all.
To stay away.
You got green?
I'm in IT as well. It's once you fall into it, that's it. I'm in the ecosystem, so that's it.
There you go. There you go.
So, how does Knicks Fan TV? How does that get born?
Yeah. So along that time when I was like in my career, the team wasn't good. Between 2000 to say 2017. Yeah. I mean, it was dark times.
We had a blip. We had the mellow year. What was it?
Yeah, you did.
12.
You did.
Right? We had a year.
Because even I jumped on at that point. I was like,
it was all hype. That's what I'm talking. It was all hype. It was all hype. The team. There was no substance behind that hype. Yeah. Right. It was like, if he had just waited 6 more months, man, we would have had a team behind them. But he gutted it too much. I mean, look, he wanted to get out of Denver. He made the right decision. That was for him. But I knew at that point, because I was an adult, the team was hype. There was nothing behind that team except for their Amari Stoudemire bad knees. We gave him 5 years with the doctor said he only has 2 left. And I was like, why would you do that?
Terrible.
But anyway, for basically 20 years, the team was almost bad. It was terrible.
They were terrible, man. But like while I was, along my career path, I always had passions of just side hustles and just the entrepreneur's journey was always appealing to me. I did everything, man. I was selling shoes. I was selling sneaker accessories. I was starting to think about, doing my own cyber consulting practice, like a little bit of everything. But they were all short-lived. I was in it for the wrong reasons. I was just in it to make extra money, but the passion really wasn't behind it. But the passion was always there for sports. And when I was on YouTube randomly one time and I saw the English Premier League, there was a channel, Arsenal Fan TV. Oh. And I saw where the host, black dude, Jamaican guy like myself, or Jamaican heritage, where he was out after the games interviewing the fans, and you saw the passion of that fan base coming out. And those clips would go viral, and I just saw a different type of consumption for sports content. And so I thought for myself, I said, this is New York. Like we are when it comes to sports fandom and passion, like there's no bigger city or market than this. I'm like, why don't we have this? And you're looking at the national media coverage, and there's nothing on the Knicks. It's just, what's the latest Dolan scandal? What's the latest name that they're after? But there was nothing in the in-between. You look at the local coverage, it's okay, Knicks won the game, here's why they won, and here's the Westminster Dog Show after. Right?
It's true. It's true.
There was nothing.
It's true.
For the diehard, I'm like, people are forgetting about us. Right. Even local radio, like, because the team wasn't good, it's not good business to do a whole hour segment on the team.
Yeah.
But I realized that still underneath, we're still alive. We're still there. Those fans that were like me from the 90s, they were still there. And so that's why I wanted to kind of create that content for those fans, for the fans like me that still want to tap in on the day-to-day aspects of the team.
Yeah, I remember like going through like similar to you. I started following the Knicks in '98, and then they were terrible after what was it, 02, 03. They were bad for the majority until basically Julius got here. And I remember my friends always clowning me, "Why are you following this team?" And I said, "When the glory day comes, I don't want anybody to call me a bandwagon fan, and this is my team. I'm rocking with them to my last breath because I know when we are at the top of the mountain, it's going to be worth all the wait for that team to have gotten to that point." But again, so you saw there was a gap in the market, and you just didn't take into any account that the team was 17-65 when you dropped that first episode, man.
Nope.
That must have been a tough time to. What were you talking about at that time? Because I went to some of your earlier videos. I was like, wow. CP's pulling it from the hat right now. What are you talking about?
That's always a joke, especially when we hit like different milestones in the recent years. It's like, what were we talking about in them dark times? But, those days we would have 50 people watching, maybe 100 on a good day. But the goal was always, because I grew up on that sports radio generation, Mike and the Mad Dog was my thing.
Right.
And to me, they were the originators of the whole thing. Like every talking head or debate show you see now came from them. So I always give them their flowers, and I always wanted to recreate that because I know that there's fans out there like you, like people all over the world that still want to talk.
Yeah.
Even it's 1765, they still want to dream. They still want to have hope. Okay, who's the next guy in the draft? Who's the next draft pick that we're going to fumble on, or the next free agent that we're going to fumble on? People still wanted to talk about it. So I just stuck true to that. And I said, look, I'm going to keep it consistent. This is going to be the one side hustle that I'm not going to bail on because this is my passion at the end of the day.
Now, question, has it been hard to stay loyal as a Knicks fan when you'll have everything outside of just the team, affecting the Knicks? You have management making certain moves or things like that, and you're like, should I still be a fan,
It never.
It never swayed you.
Never.
He's asking because he hates it.
Yes,
he hates
that's
it.
right.
That's like that. He's basically
like me is what he's really asking. Right?
I don't care what Dolan does. I don't care about any of that political stuff. I care about what's happening in the court.
Yeah,
that's it.
yeah.
The 94 feet that's within those lines, that's what I stay loyal to. Whatever's happening outside of management, we have no control over that, right? Like all we can do is report. At least you, me observe, you report on what's going on.
Yeah,
it shouldn't affect your fandom for the team. But I know that you're a little washed.
It's just naturally like there's just no connection. Like I could easily root for Golden State or root for the Heat or root for the Lakers, but there's just no. It didn't grab me to root for those teams. There's just no connection there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you started the platform, what was the initial vision? Obviously, you set up the platform, you set up your page. What were you thinking if you could put yourself back in those shoes? What did you want? What were your initial goals? How were you going to, grow this? Was it just, hey, I'm going to talk about the Knicks, however many people are willing to listen to me, that's cool.
Yeah.
But what were some of your initial goals and thoughts?
Yeah, it was always, Post Game Live is the flagship show, and it was always to build that show where after the game we could all come together. I'm going to give my thoughts on it, but I want to hear from you. So I was always trying to figure out, especially on the technical side, because I had no background in this, no media training, no nothing. What do I need to do to establish this show where I could have people actually calling in?
Right.
So in the early days, I used to have people calling a phone number, have my phone connected, like, yo, call this number.
The landline.
And do this, So it had to evolve, but that was the initial vision, was to build that post-game show, have the callers call in, let's debate, let's fight about it with respect.
Right.
And then we're going to put it out there for the fans to enjoy.
Just as a side note, my two favorite times to tune in, I tune into every post-game show, is one when we win, when we get a great win, you see all the fans getting crazy, and one's when we have bad losses because this guy gets aggy.
Yeah, right.
Don't come with none of the fugazi stuff on the show. He's gonna shut you off, call you dumb, and keep it moving. But it's always like so entertaining to me to see how you deal with people who just come in with like nonsense. Sometimes it's fine if we have a bad loss and we have like a good, you can have a nice intellectual debate about the team. But I'm just so great that you don't I'm so thankful for you that you don't entertain any of that BS, man. I really, because there's no room for that. I mean, sometimes there is. Sometimes it's funny.
Yeah.
Like that girl who called in and said, put him in the trunk.
Right. And that went viral. That turned into a viral sensation.
Sometimes it's good. But yeah. So the next question that we had, like, What were some of the biggest challenges you faced that first year? I know you were trying to build the platform, but like you said, like, you know, you were just trying to get a phone number, just trying to see how people called in. Was it just the technical difficulties? What else did you have?
Yeah, I mean, the challenges, and I think what is a challenge for many today is maintaining consistency.
Yeah.
Because in the beginning, like, there's nobody watching. You're not making any money off of it. And I'm still working a full-time job. Like, I got mouths to feed. So it's a lot of work. And so you can
82 games too. So
what's that?
82 games.
82 games.
So yeah.
And that was my commitment to it. Like, I'm here every night, every game. I'm gonna be here. And that was the message. That was the brand I was trying to build. And so it could be humbling on those nights when it is that 17-65 season. People in the middle of the season, people just like, I don't want to watch this. I don't care. So the consistency aspect of it will test. It's gonna test your patience and test your will. Like, are you truly committed to this? But I just knew that it was going to turn into a viable product, you know, just over time. And then the technical side of things, I had no idea what the audio was going to look like. What cameras do I need? Right. What type of lighting do I need? And so I had to learn that on my own. And so putting that time in to teach myself all of that is a commitment in itself.
Did you reach out to anybody in those initial years or months to try to get maybe advice? And what was were people willing to help you? Was it just sort of like, who's this guy like reaching out to me? Or did you try to really do it on your own? Not
really, because I didn't really have too many people that were in the media industry, audio visual expertise. You know, everybody was more so on the business track or maybe on the blue collar track, but nothing really on that audio visual side. So literally everything from video editing, podcast platform, where do I need to upload it? How do I need to, upload to social media? What kind of lighting? What kind of mixing board? Everything. I had to teach myself everything. And so I had to really go back to school for that.
Yeah.
At the same time, trying to produce a show and figure out how to make a show that people would want to tune into on a nightly basis.
Yeah. You talk about the technical aspect of it, but then how have you improved, I guess, as just like a sports commentator, analyst? Because now, do you look at the game differently?
Yeah, for sure.
And do you feel like you have a responsibility now as far as, it's not just you're seeing the game from, just a visual aspect. Are you incorporating data and things like that? How has that changed over the years?
Yeah, definitely. It changed a lot because, like you said, you're looking at the game a lot differently now. And, in the beginning, I had to really just tap into what I would do is really just tap into trends, tap into stats, do more research, right? So to prepare for a game, I'm not just watching the game at 7:30 or 10 and then talking about it. I'm going before that. Yeah. So I'm tapping in how are the Pacers looking? How are they trending over time? Who's hot right now? What are they doing? What are they doing that has them in the position that they're in? How are the Knicks, conversely? And then after that, I would kind of give like 3 or 4 storylines that I'm trying to track over the game and see if that comes true. Like, I believe, based on how the Pacers are shooting the 3 and the Knicks are defending, I think this might happen, or I'm expecting this to happen, or this is how they may attack Jalen Brunson on the defensive side. So there's different things that I'm looking at now in these games to see, okay, is it going to come true? And then we talk about it in the game.
Yeah.
The post-game show.
And because of the post-game show, because, we all have busy lives and you consolidate everything for me, it allows me to be a much more informed fan. Because now I'm watching the game totally differently, because now I know certain spots not to expect certain things, to expect certain things, so I'm looking at the game much more differently than maybe a casual who's just out here like, what's the points, how many points did this guy have, but how did he score those points, was he efficient, right, things of that nature. That's really how I've seen your development, really, like just being somebody, a consumer of your platform. I'm just like, wow, I've really seen you grow, like really to the top of your game, man. So congratulations on that. And when did you first realize, moving away from the 17-65 season, when did you think to yourself, I think I got something? I think I got something here.
I think just over time, the gradual growth of the viewership and the growth in the numbers, the growth in social media, as we were like improving the way that we put the content out there, people just started to flock to it. Right. And it became like a nightly thing because we established that brand that every night, you know where to find us. Yeah. You know what you're going to get every night. You're going to get the analysis. You're going to get the highlights. You're going to get the callers calling in. And it might be a Debbie Downer like Ari from Manhattan, or it might be Jay Boogie who brings his preacher vibes to it. But you know what you're going to get every night. So, but I think one of the things that made me realize it was the Charles Oakley interview.
Yes.
The Charles Oakley interview. Because it went viral. That was the first piece of content that really went, the first interview that was picked up.
Was he the first guest that came on?
No, the first guest was actually, and shout out to my guy, Tommy Beer. He was a writer for Forbes magazine at the time.
Okay.
And the first player we had on was Chris Childs.
Which
was a great interview.
my
Great
point guard right
storyteller, very animated as well. But the Oakley one, that one was, it went viral and it got picked up by NBC. Michael K. Show picked it up. Because of it's Oakley.
Yeah, it's Oakley.
It's Oakley. And I remember when that was the first interview, I was like, man, we got to do our homework because Oak is not going to play around because he can see right through it. You know what I mean? He has that media training. He's Oak. Yeah. So he knows like you got to come correct with him.
You have to come.
And I remember my partner at the time, we were comparing questions and notes and stuff like that. He's like, yo, is this good? What do you think? I was like, yo, it's okay. But be ready for this thing to go off the rails because I already knew. Like,
sometimes you may throw this one up.
Yeah, I already knew it's gonna come a point in time when the script is out the window. And we're just gonna have to go with it.
Yeah.
Sure enough, happened.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Sure enough, happened. Middle of the interview, Oak just went left.
Yeah,
and my partner he kind of froze up, and I had to be like, you know what, boo, let's go. Let's shoot the fair one, and let's just go with it. And so, but that authentic conversation, I think Oak respected it at the end of the day.
It's true.
Is what made it what it was. And like I said, it got picked up on the national scene, so that was nice.
Yeah, it's nice to know that you were able to pivot. That happened to us earlier last season where we had a whole script. We got ready for this one particular guy with Fadi, and completely different. Basically turned down my computer. I was like, all right, we're just gonna have a conversation here because this is how it's gonna go. But sometimes it's just like that. You need to be scripted and prepared, but also you need to be ready for the unexpected.
Always.
So I'm sure that was like the first moment where you had like, okay, like I need to be ready for this.
Yeah.
So
yep.
And what were some of the moves and decisions? Because obviously, if everybody sees how you started and where you are today, what were some of sort of like the key decisions and moves that you made to help scale KFTV to what it is today?
Yeah, well, you certainly can't scale without funds, right? Yeah. So one of the things was in the onset, it was just understand that I'm going to have to invest in myself. So the benefit of having a good career, good job was that I could take some of the extra cash and purchase my first Apple product because I knew like to run this show, which is going to be resource intensive, I was going to have to bite the bullet and buy a reliable computer. So I had to buy my Apple, buy my mics, my mixing board, all the setup and really invest. But also as we grew and I started building business with different brands, I put it back into the product and brought more people on board.
Right. Yeah.
Because obviously I couldn't do everything. It was great I always feel like it's great to learn each process of the business, but ultimately you want to get to the point where you're able to delegate.
Yeah.
And then once you delegate and you know the process, that's how you kind of mitigate the risk of, working with bad people, getting ripped off, things of that nature, because you kind of know what to expect.
Yeah.
So we started investing in a supporting staff as well. And then, just understanding that I don't have all the answers. Yeah. When it comes to this, I didn't want to make it just a me show and everybody just has to listen to me. And so building relationships was key. So we would bring in, an Alan Hahn, some of those established veterans, the players to tell their stories, the journalists who were in the locker room getting those stories. Like I was always thinking about value to the end viewer. Like, what do you guys want to know about? And I'm putting myself in the seat of the fan because I am a fan.
Right.
So I had to kind of take that ego aside and understand that it's not just about me. It's about you at the end of the day. And so I had to build those relationships to bring those people in that I felt like could bring more value to the show.
Yeah, I feel like whenever you bring the journalists, the Bondies, the Begleys, the Cats, I feel like, okay, we're getting a different perspective than I love the analysis you're giving, but they have a very in-depth, in the beat, in the team analysis, and that just adds on to the show because now you're going to want to come back and be like, all right, how is CP going to build on this? And you just keep delivering, right? So do you always feel that as you get bigger and bigger, there's a little bit more pressure for you to just keep building upon that. And I mean, you're a confident person. Obviously, you wouldn't be where you are if you're not, whatever. But do you ever feel that pressure to feel like, okay, how am I going to keep scaling this thing?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. But I think it's natural.
Right.
Like, it's natural to feel that way and to want to not want to be complacent and to want to continue growing. And I think that is what has kind of opened up doors, both for me and the channel, is not being complacent and always taking on new challenges, taking on things where I might not even know how to handle it, but I'm just going to insert myself into it and see where it leads. I think those things, you know, you have to kind of embrace that. And that's what we've been trying to do.
Well, when's the point where you go full-time Knicks Fan TV? You know, you quit your day job and then you just go all in.
December 2022.
Oh, so just recent.
Just recent.
Not too far ago. So you were doing the whole full-time corporate?
I was doing it.
5 years, I guess, right?
5 years. I was busting it out, 15, 18-hour days, working damn near 2 full-time jobs. But December 2022 was the point where, because I'm a VP, like I'm a manager.
You
like,
can't.
It's not an entry-level thing where you can kind of get lost. Like, you know, you're responsible for growing your staff and developing people and being there and presenting to the high-ups and things of that nature. So it came to a point where it was coming to a head where the hours, it just wasn't making sense. And I always, you know, felt like I was just getting to a point where I was tired of living somebody else's dream. I wanted to do my own thing. I always had that in the back of my mind, like, life is just too short.
It is.
You know, I like this job, I like this career, but I gotta write my own book because it's gonna be over soon. And so I just felt like there was gonna come a time. So I just kind of put my ducks in a row, made sure that I always had this as a backup plan.
Right.
Because I was established in the field. I got 2 degrees. Like, I wasn't worried about, you know, falling on hard times for too long. So I just say, yo, we got to jump.
No, absolutely.
Like, and it's a nerve-wracking, it's anxiety-filled, it's very difficult because, like I said, I'm not young. And I had mouths to feed. I wasn't a kid who I could just stay in my mom and dad's basement and afford. I got mortgage to pay. I got bills. You know what I mean? So it wasn't easy. But I just, you know, had to trust my instincts and my conviction and just say, look, we got to jump. We could always come back to this. And so December 2022, I was like.
Now, you have a lot of anxiety, but did you feel like immediately as soon as you became a full-time content creator and entrepreneur, did you have that sigh of relief? Like, I finally get to control my narrative.
No.
No. Maybe there was
because, yo, it's different. It's different, man. Like, when you come through the school system and you go to college, like, all of that, for the most part, is preparing you to be an employee.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And when you're an employee, like, you can take days off. You can coach some days. You could take a sick day, take a personal day, go to the Yankee game, and you know what I mean? You can have those days where you just BSing it, like, BSing through.
It's true.
When you're full-time and you're on your own, you can't do that. You can't do that. And so every day you got to figure out not just how I'm going to eat, how's my team going to eat, how are we progressing, are we doing the right thing? You know, is this decision that I'm making, is this the right move to make? There's no guarantees, especially in this industry that's in its nascent stages, still growing. You know, at least on the corporate side, you know that whatever I do, at least for the most part, 15th and the 30th, I'm gonna get my check.
Checks are
They
clearing.
might bring you in, be like, yo, you gotta step it up. But for the most part, 15th and the 30th, I'm good. But with this, it's all new territory. And so in the beginning, I was like, you know, sweating. But I said, yo, just stick with it. You know, we'll get to cruising altitude at some point.
So it makes me feel better that I'm still doing those 20-hour days. You see the time. I'm texting this guy 4 in the morning, 3 in the morning, as soon as I'm done with this job, because this job is ruthless. But I'm so dedicated to this platform because I feel like, similar to yourself, I feel like there was a little bit of a gap, at least in what we're trying to do. And I feel like I'm trying to actually bring up stories less such as yourself. I think, to be quite honest with you, I find you a lot more interesting than some of the, you know, high-level, high names, because I feel like you're the dream. Taking it from having humble beginnings, building yourself up, doing it over time. And I feel like there's so many more interesting people who do that rather than people who are in the top 1%. You know, I could show, I'm not trying to pick anybody out, but I just feel your story is much more inspiring, much more relatable to the average normal human being than some other look, it doesn't matter how many times I go to the gym. I'll never jump as high as LeBron James. I'm not gifted. Like, it's just not happen. It's just never going to happen.
Yeah.
But through perseverance and consistency and having a will and determination and a plan, you can do whatever you want to do, such as yourself, right? So shout out to you again, man.
Appreciate it.
So you did speak about earlier on, I did speak about like having to build and consistently scale yourself. So look, we're in 2024. There's a lot of garbage content out there, right? So I want to talk about the current state of content creation, especially when it comes to sports and especially in the Knicks space. What do you like the most and what do you like the least about where it's currently at right now?
Sure. So what I like the most is that there are no barriers of entry to making content. You have your phone, that's your camera, and that's your TV all in one. And so on any platform, you just hit the record button, you hit the live button, and there you go. That's your first episode. So there's no excuse for the person out there that wants to do this. You can do it, and so but you just have to apply yourself. So what I like is that the independent content creator is garnering more and more credibility and respect than ever before. Like if you look at examples, Cleveland Cavaliers, they brought in, these independent podcasters. They are now one of the official podcasters of the Cleveland Cavaliers. I love what John Boy Media is doing with the Yankees.
Yep.
I mean, this is a historic team like the New York Yankees, one of the most original teams in all of sports. And they're bringing in this guy who he's got his own show on Yes Network.
Yep.
He's got multiple shows on Yes Network. They've got Aaron Boone.
Yep.
So they've understood how to kind of intertwine with that independent content creator. Looking at our own example, our relationships with ESPN, with different brands like a Puma that allows us to have those, collaborations with an RJ Barrett or bringing Kendrick Perkins on the show. Like there's just more and more respect for what the independent content creator is able to do. And so that's certainly what I value the most. What I like the least in terms of just sports content right now.
Yeah, sports content right now in your space.
Yeah. I don't know if there's anything I like the least, because I would say, especially when it comes to the bigger, more national names, like the ESPNs of the world, the more they get wrong of the Knicks, the more people come to Knicks Fan TV.
So you're like,
I say keep it up, right?
Keep it up, yeah.
But I think that's it. From a fan perspective, when the team is playing on a national stage, whether it's an ESPN or a TNT, a lot of those analysts they get lazy with the coverage. They get lazy with their analysis. All it takes is, if you don't have time to watch a game, all it takes is hire a research guy. Even like a Stephen A. Smith. How do you afford to get things wrong about the Knicks? Well, you making the money there. You're the main guy there. You got a research guy right behind you. Do the research.
Yeah.
So, but again, that is why the fan has looked for alternative sources
of information
for their information, and it's come to our delight. Because it was once said that you can't be a fan and do this. But now what we're showing is it's actually the preferred route.
It's preferred route
to go to.
And I tell people all the time, the headline names, whether Stephen A. Smith or whoever, the guy inside the NBA on TNT, those are entertainment shows at the end of the day, right? So there's no secret as to why they're saying certain things. I know they're saying certain things because, when you agitate a Knicks fan for whether it's false or true, they're going to click on it. And at the end of the day, it's all about click, and that's where the data is driving, right? They just want engagement with their platform and their video. And part of the reason why I started going more towards independence, such as yourself, for sources of information is because I just got so tired of hearing that. Because at one point it was a sort of like, okay, it was every once in a while. Now it's just every show. It's just nonsense, right? I'm not trying to go in to try to listen to nonsense. I actually want to be an informed fan. I want to be entertained, but I also want accurate stats, right? So I think it's just gotten to the point where it's just so ridiculous. And some of these people who used to play the game are saying things, especially about the Knicks, that are not even true.
Yeah.
And it affects the casuals. I.e., example, this guy right here. He was on the Julius. Oh, we gotta trade Julius bandwagon. Save it for 10 minutes. We're about to get there. We're about to get there. There's a lot of people who believe in that, and I'm gonna say, how do you replace 25 and 10?
Right.
How do you just do that? Like, tell me, give me the trade that actually works, not fantasy basketball, because a lot of people like to do fantasy basketball trades.
Yeah.
So anyway, we'll get to that in a few minutes. Sure. But I just think with the rise of social media, right, and with the rise of independent content creation, do you think has it helped the quality of the content creation that you're doing in your space? And also, what role does authenticity play?
Sure. Yeah, I think it definitely has. Well, both. I think it can help and I think it can hurt. Where I think it helps is that you just have those new voices and those people who are zagging when others are zigging. For example, outside of what we do, you look at what my guys at Knicks Film School do.
Yeah.
In terms of how they look at their content, whether it's, the newsletters that they're doing or their film breakdowns, that's just a different way of producing that content, but it's still a professional manner. It's still objective.
Yep.
And it's something different than what's out there. Caitlin Cooper, another person, she covers the Pacers. I mean, she breaks it down scientifically, to a T. Yeah. Right? She'll tell you what Halliburton had for lunch before he went to the game and why that improved the angles off the glass and all this. Like she's that detailed with it. And so I think it does establish those people as well. And then on the flip side, with social media, it brings a lot more toxicity, which I think kind of hampers the conversations around the game. It's the GOAT talk. This guy's the greatest. This guy's the greatest. This guy stinks. That guy stinks. And then, you have the people that are kind of hiding behind the anonymity to try to bring others down. Right. And so I think that does cloud the arena a little bit. But as long as people, look for the sources of good analysis, objectivity, positivity, there's plenty out there for you to have. And then what role does authenticity play? I think that's everything. Yeah. Especially in today's environment. The authenticity to me is been a big driving factor for the success of Knicks Fan TV. Like when we go on the road or even just out here at Madison Square Garden, like when I go live after a game and there's people like you who's watching from Dubai or people watching from California and they're like, yo, I miss home. Like, yo, man, you bring us closer to the game. I've had several people say that. Yeah. You bring us closer to home. You bring us closer to home. True. And it's because people in me, they see themselves. Yeah. Right? And that's just all I am. I don't try to be anything more. I don't try to be anything else. Like, this is just me. This is the package. If you like it, tap in. If not, and you have options. That's what I tell people all the time.
So much so I flew back from some watch parties. Man, I came back for the Lakers joint.
Right.
And I went for the one at Slate where Marbury was there. Oh my God, man.
Right.
Like I'll do it at the end, but those watch parties are A1, man.
And it's just all of us.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody are like mine. We coming in peace, coming in unity, and we watching the team that we rock with.
Yeah, exactly.
How important is it for your platform to get, I guess, to that corporate level or get the cosign of the NBA or ESPN or New York Knicks, or can you just do it on your own and keep it independent? And is the Knicks fan base enough to support that?
Yeah, I think what you're seeing now, especially with other content creators, like if you look at like Pat McAfee, you're looking at what my guy Ariel Helwani is doing. Yeah. They have established their brand independently. But now they've grown their brand to a point where they're now partnering and collaborating with the major networks. And so it creates, it makes good business sense to do so. Because these networks now, they don't have to take the time to build up a fan base. They're bringing you in. You have your audience. They're taking their technical and production expertise and you're making magic that way. So I think that's where the business model is going. That's where we're going to continue to go, is maintaining our independence, but also being open to those collaborations. And so over time, it brought me to SNY as an analyst, as a studio analyst. We've done content collaborations with SNY, PIX 11, Fox 5 News, ESPN, going on the Max Kellerman show. So it's a nice synergy now between the independent side and the corporate side.
Right. And obviously in this space now that the Knicks are a hot trend now, there's a lot of competition in your space now, right? Sure. And what do you think sets you apart from the other? So because you mentioned Knicks Film School, Caitlin Cooper, they have a sort of a different angle. What sets you apart in your platform?
I think the biggest thing is you. What sets you apart is you. And shout out to the Rhyme Animal, Chuck D's my mentor. He had to tell me that. And it took me a while to really understand that. Like, what sets you apart? Like, people when you saw that Building the Brand presentation that I did, a lot of people like, yo, I can't believe you gave out so many gems. And the reason is because you can give out the gems. The information is out there if you do your homework, you do your research. Like, none of it is a secret in terms of how to build your platform. But you can't be me, and I can't be you. And that's what makes a lot of these platforms differently.
Yeah.
Again, Pat McAfee. A lot of people can talk bad football. A lot of former football players can talk the game and do that, but he has his own style.
Yeah.
That is, influential and that other people flock to because of his style, his brand. So again, back to the authenticity, that is it. That's the magic right there that people often can't replicate, but you shouldn't try to replicate it. You got to be yourself.
Your own thing, yeah.
Because when you're yourself, you will appeal to those who are like you. Like, it's just a natural thing. So I think that's the biggest part of it.
Yeah, I think there's nothing wrong with taking elements of people,
Sure,
and
yeah.
and making your own style, right? Because there's, you're gonna just say different brands, different elements, different approaches, right? I even see you from a content creator perspective, and I like some of the things that you do. I like some of the things that some of your support team does, right? So it's sort of like just studying and making sure that you're prepared, and then just being yourself, because it's gonna come off on the screen that you're not being yourself, that you're talking in a way that's not natural to you.
Yeah.
So it's actually pretty. I think that's what's, as me as the consumer, I can sense when there's inauthenticity, right? When you're being disingenuine.
Yeah.
During the season, are you purposely not watching other shows, other analysts, or do you kind of bring it all in and then filter it out into like what's useful and what's
In terms of Knicks, or just the sport period?
sport period?
No, well, I'd certainly have to tap into the NBA period. So there's other content creators that I'll tap into, just to get a lay of the land. But it's so time consuming trying to build up Knicks Fan TV and watching games, preparing for games, that a lot of my attention is focused there.
Yeah.
But certainly just to see, what's going on around the league and catch up on what I missed. Yeah, there's other platforms that I would tap into for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and I guess before we transition to the Knicks themselves, where do you see Knicks Fan TV and the broader and your sort of platform 5 years from now?
Yeah. So what we've been fortunate to have, especially over the years, is an influx of talent that's looking to get on board. Whether it's the hosts, we brought in JD, we brought in Alex, CK, Jeff Johnson, Jake Asman. We brought in so many hosts, and then also from the supporting side, talented video editors. We have my guy Knicks Fan TV, Jalen. He runs our newsletter. Tyler Gamba. I think the benefit to running this platform has been we haven't had to search too far for talent. A lot of, I would say 90% of the people that are with us have come to us like, yo, I want to be involved. And yeah,
we may need to talk off set because we try to search. Maybe we're doing something wrong, but
it has not been hard. And so, but that's beneficial because that initial message, that initial reach out just tells you that that person is passionate about what they're doing. They're passionate about what you're doing, and they're going to take ownership of the platform and where you're going. You want that buy-in. You want someone who's going to treat it like how you would treat it. Yeah. And so that makes it easier to establish a level of trust and a good working relationship with these guys. So that's why, I'm very fortunate to have that team. So going forward, it's just continue to recruit good talent. We're going to create additional shows, alter our content mix to, again, focus on value to the end user and make sure that we're bringing a holistic approach to the platform. And then also we've just done a great job of building community. I always tell people, like, on the back end of the content, like, the content is great, but really just getting out and vibing with the people through the watch parties or the meetups or whatever we're doing in person, it's contributed to the overall growth of the platform. So we're going to continue to do that because we know our people are all over the world.
You guys got from the Philippines calling in.
Yeah, got Philippines staff.
Live calling in saying like, yo, I just missed out of work this morning. I'm like, damn. Like,
my guy Carlo overnight to the Philippines, his playoff merch. Wow. The overnight shipping itself costs double the actual cost of the shirt that he wanted, but
hey,
tapped in.
He's tapped in. And I can't imagine that anybody who would reach out to you to say, I want to be a part of this. Look, one thing about the chat, they will let you know how they feel. So it's something you got to come correct on this platform.
Absolutely.
You cannot come on some, I'm just willy-nilly in this. I think that's the reason why people are like, you know what? I think at least you know that this person at least brave enough to come on because Chad's gonna let you know tomato cane's coming in.
Quick. Yeah.
So now transitioning to this year's Knicks. So by the time this drops, the Knicks will be already 1 month into the season. We have a tough. I think we have a tough 10 game.
Tough 10. Yeah.
10. Right. What do you think is going to be the record after those 10 games?
After I think I said, what did I say? I'm not sure. I forgot. I think it was like 4. Was it 4 and 6? I think.
Yeah, he
Maybe
was. You were
5
more.
and 5.
Yeah, you were more on the Dallas. People were trying to get on you, but I agree with you though.
I keep it real. It's a
I
tough
was like,
schedule, man.
yo, that's a tough 10 games.
Yeah,
I was like, to
yeah.
start off the season. The NBA always stayed doing its dirt,
Sure.
man. So I feel like, so yeah, so I think after the 10 game stretch, and then after that, I think it gets a little easier for us, and then
It's a little
we should be able to pick back up. The first question I want to take, and again, I have a group chat of guys who are just Knicks fan haters.
Yeah.
Is Jalen Brunson, in your eyes, is he a superstar? He's definitely a star.
Yeah.
Is he a superstar?
Absolutely.
I agree.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's a superstar. After his performance this year, he's a superstar for sure. I can't even argue with that. He's good.
Yeah, because you were on the fence for a little bit too.
Yeah, but that playoff performance, it was like he's that
Yeah.
guy. You know, I'm surprised he wasn't even on the Olympic team. You know what I mean? Over Halliburton.
Halliburton.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think he should win over him.
Didn't even play, man. But I was like, all right. So the Knicks. So Jalen Brunson is a superstar.
Sure.
Is there? So what do you think is the floor this year for the team? Like what?
Yeah.
For it not to be a bust.
For it not to be a bust, Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah.
Eastern Conference.
And you're okay with whatever happens in the Eastern
After
Conference?
that, I'm good with it.
Okay.
But I think they've been building leading up to this. If they can get there healthy, there's no reason they can't get to the Eastern Conference Finals with the talent that they have, the depth. To me, they have all the elements that you need to be a true top 4, top 6 contender in this league. They have the star talent. They have a clutch play in Jalen Brunson. They have defense. They still rebound. And they have shooting efficiency, man. I mean, Dante DiVincenzo, outside of Steph Curry, to me, he was the best three-point shooter in the league. You got OG Anunoby's ability to shoot the 3. Jalen Brunson can shoot the 3. Josh Hart, when he wants to, in the playoffs,
As we saw.
he can step it up and shoot the 3. Like, they have guys that can shoot now. It's just, can Julius Randle bring it together? Will they stay healthy?
Has Randall played he hasn't played a full healthy season
In a while.
Yeah.
In a while.
So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
what scares me about him. That's
Yeah.
from like he has,
But those were like freak accidents, though. Those weren't because he got some like Anthony Davis type of like, you know, he just injury
Right,
prone. It's just
right.
unfortunate events that's happened to him, like
Yeah.
stepping on Bam's ankle or whatever it was, and Jaquez getting out the way at the
Yeah.
very end, right? I just feel like, what do you think? What do you need to see from Julius this year in order to be like, all right, we definitely have a championship contender here?
Be locked in. Just be locked in defensively. Because I know offensively he's going to be able to bring. You know, he's one of the guys that's double teamed the most in the league. And with that, and with a better surrounding supporting cast, it's going to be the best team he's ever played with. So everything should be coming naturally to him. He gets a little dicey with his decision making. It's not always consistent. It's not always quick. So certainly there on the offensive side, you want to see him making quick decisions. His efficiency from the floor will certainly help them. He's not the best three-point shooter, but if he can lock in there and then also defensively not have those lapses where he's kind of just falling asleep and his guys beating him, you know, I think we'll be in good shape.
And not that you're criticizing him at all. Captain Clutch, Jalen Brunson, what do you need to see from him this year in order for us to be in that championship contention? Because it's hard to criticize his game, but what do you personally need to see from him?
Just be who he's been. Just be who he's been. But the reason I say that Brunson is a superstar is because when the lights get brighter, he performs.
Yeah, he does.
He has never disappeared in these 2 years.
Yeah.
And when he gets into the playoffs and he's by himself, he elevates his game.
Yeah.
I mean, I was watching him up close and personal. Game 4 of that game in Philly.
Yeah.
I'm right there. I'm right behind the bench. He got injured so bad that we didn't think he was coming back into the game. And he still came out. He still closed. Like, it was to the point where every time out, they had to ice his knee.
He was looking Patrick Ewing out there.
It was looking Patrick Ewing. So you didn't even know if he was going to make it from game to game. And then he had a stretch where he had like 4 straight games with 40 points.
Yeah.
So, like, he's ready for it, man. Like, I don't – it's hard to really see the holes in his game. Like, even defensively, when they say, oh, well, he's not a great defender, he might not be great athletically, but mentally – He's always anticipating. He's drawing the charges. Like, he's still a smart defender.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes makes up for his physical limitations.
Yeah, I just think people are expected to be like some sort of shutdown defender. I mean, that's
Right.
not what we have him here for, right?
Right.
He's not a terrible defender. People think he's an Olay. I can give you a whole bunch of Olay defenders in the league.
Right.
He's definitely not one of them. Now, is he smaller for sure, but he draws some of the most, I think the most or second most charges in the league.
Yeah.
Right. So we don't need him for that. We need Captain Clutch to be Captain Clutch in the fourth quarter. That's what I need him
Yeah.
for.
How do you think Mikal Bridges fits in? Is he the number 2 guy, the number 3?
Yeah.
Because that's going to be interesting.
That's
With
going to be the
Randolph,
wild card.
yeah,
That's going to be the
Bridges.
wild card.
Yeah.
Because, everybody is applauding them for their chemistry. Oh, they're boys and this and the third. But the reality is, that's
was a while
another
ago.
person. And now you got a lot of mouths to feed with one ball, with one basketball. So how they fit on the court is still going to be left to be seen, because Mikal's going from situations now where he was the ultimate role player with Phoenix to being the guy with Brooklyn. So how do the Knicks utilize him best to kind of get the best out of him? I do think that it might not be a situation where he's going to be at his best with the 3 of them on the court. Maybe it is when Randall goes to the bench or when Brunson goes to the bench, and then you can tap into Mikal Bridges and say, hey, be that Brooklyn guy. Go out there and go get us a bucket in the mid-range. Go do your thing, because he can do that. And I think that can help the Knicks bench, because they needed that type of scoring punch when Brunson is out of the game.
Sometimes they just look lost a little bit, saying, where's that second unit scoring coming from? Right?
Yeah.
But now I feel that Hart and DiVincenzo are going to step up, because now they're going back to what they got brought in for as bench players. They're going to be major bench players, and now they don't have that starting role sort of like responsibility on them. So do you feel that those two are going to take another step up in their game this year? And the second question to that, what are some of the concerns you have this year?
Yeah, I think Hart's going to be fine. The challenge I think Tibbs is going to have is who's going to close. Because since Hart got here, before he even put his bags down, he was in the closing lineup of the game.
Yeah.
And it's ever since, that's been Tibbs' most trusted player outside of Brunson and Randall has been Josh Hart. So who's going to be closing in those fourth quarters is going to be interesting. But I think Hart, whether it's bench or starting, he's going to be just fine. You can't forget about DiVincenzo, man.
Nah, you can't.
I've been saying this, like, how is he going to adjust to that bench role after being a starter for 30-plus games last year? And like I said, he was great in that 2-guard spot. Yeah. So how do they use him and utilize his 3-point shooting? I think that's one area where I got to see, if they can really get that magic back again. And then also, they had a hole in when Brunson would go to the bench, who was going to be that playmaker for that second unit. Like, I think they should be a little bit better with Hart and DiVincenzo going to the bench, and then you have McBride, who took a step up last year. But do they have a natural playmaker who can collapse a defense and then spray it out? We'll have to see if McBride takes that next step.
Yeah.
All right. So, and I guess what if the Knicks were to make the finals, right? It would be because of what? Why would they have made the finals? Well, one, we have Boston in the way, so we would have to beat them. But what needs to go right this season, putting health aside, for us to get to that?
And add in, if you think another trade has to happen, another move. Because I think the Knicks it's another move away. Yeah. I don't think they're there yet with this team.
I have to say, for them to make the finals, it's with Julius Randle exercising his playoff demons. A lot of people want to say he's injured, he's this, he's that. But also, when teams scheme against him and you're in the playoffs, and what he's doing in game 16 is not necessarily who he's going to be in games 84, 5, 6. Like, it's an endurance test, man. You're not the same player. So how does he handle that extra attention, the playoff intensity, even if he is healthy? He has to play at an all-star level for them to get there, because I don't think Jalen alone is going to be able to do that. And Randall is the guy when it comes to a shot creation standpoint and making your team better. He's that next guy, outside of Mikal Bridges. And then secondarily, I got to see how the center position holds up. Is Mitchell Robinson still going to be there with them? No. If he's not, is Precious Achiuwa going to be adequate there? If not, does Tibbs get desperate and go small ball? Does he get creative and go small ball when they can? Mm-hmm. So I think those are going to be some of the keys to getting there.
All right, so if you had, putting you on the spot, who's your closing lineup with this currently construct?
Man, I think it could vary, man.
It depends on what you need, right? Scoring, defense, right? But I think the variable, it's always going to be JB. It's going to be in there. Julie's going to be there. Anunoby's going to be there. And Mikal Bridges is going to be there. So it's really between Hart and DiVincenzo. What do you need at that point in the game, right? That's real. Tell me if you disagree with that. But I just don't see those four coming out.
No. So, those four won't be coming out, especially OG, if he's there. Those are your money guys, and those are going to be the guys that are going to be expected to perform. But what I do think is different with this team when you factor in Bridges and Anunoby is that, you know, in years past, when you're going up against Milwaukee or you're going up against Boston, Philly, you would hope to have a good game defensively against their star players. Now, I think you're never going to shut any of those stars down on those teams. Yeah. But now you feel more comfortable going into a game where you're going up against Middleton and Giannis. You're going up against Halliburton and Siakam, Embiid and Maxey. Like, now you feel more comfortable that you have the wing depth and versatility to hold your own. Yeah. Right? You're not going to stop them, but at least to hold your own.
Just make it difficult.
Make it difficult for them. Now you're more confident with those two guys there.
Yeah. Okay. I think if the Knicks could get past Boston, then they have a shot. Because I think Boston's going to run through the East. What is it? Tatum coming off an Olympic run, and he's pissed about how he was treated. You got Jaylen Brown pissed about he wasn't even picked up. I think even though they won the championship, they still have a lot to prove. And I think they're seriously going after that second, that repeat championship. So
yeah, I got to see how they fare at the 5 spot as well, because you're gonna have Porzingis missing a ton of time, and then Horford. I mean, when
do this for?
You know what I mean? Like,
I'm Dominican too, man. But damn, just go off, retire already at this point.
When will it be a point where it's just like he's no longer helping us? I don't know. You know, but you know, if he doesn't, then they could be in a little bit of an issue there.
All right, quick fire. Last question of the segment. Record prediction and where do we place in the East?
All right, so I'm gonna go 53 wins.
Got it.
53 wins, and I'll go first seed.
I could see that. No, that's within. I mean, because we're gonna try hard. We're gonna play every game like it's a playoff game.
Every game like it's their last. So first, second seed, I think they'll be right there. Man. I think they'll be right there.
All right. Want to do the?
Yeah, you could do it.
All right, cool. Yeah. So how we like to end the show, we always have a question. What is your last flight out? And that means what is that pivotal moment that you took in your career and your life that it set you on the path that you're at now, you know, where you were able to see Knicks Fan TV come to life. So what was your last flight out?
It was definitely the moment I went full time.
Okay.
It was definitely the moment I went full time because it gave me a lot more clarity on where I wanted to go and how I needed to move each day. And even when I talked about those early days of like, man, what are we doing? Where are we going? Like, those have been excellent learning lessons and tools to take me to today. This is still a work in progress. It always is going to be. It's a journey at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But just taking that leap, you know, trusting my conviction and prayed up. You know, I'm a believer, you know, just praying to God every day to guide me and guide my steps, and then also doing the work that I needed to do to get there every day. That was it for me, man. So
I got one more question to build upon that. So it was December 2020. 22. Mm-hmm. All right. How long, you set that date, but how long was it before you set that date? Was it like 6 months, I'm going to quit? And
it was like, that year it was kind of like, all right, let me see what's up. You know, I'm kind of flirting with it. I'm taking a look at everything. Like, I think I could do this now. I'm trying to see, you know, from each of our revenue lanes, like, okay, here's how we're doing here, and here. I think I could do this. But then again, it just came to a point where it's just like mentally, it was just like, I need my freedom. Like, it's time. It's time. It was time, and so I just took that leap, man.
And I'm sure you work harder now than you did for your corporate job. So that's how it goes. That's how it goes. CP, man, thanks so much for the time today. How about you tell the fans and the audience where they can find you on a daily basis?
Yeah, sure. YouTube.com, Knicks Fan TV. We also have the NBA Report, so at the NBA Report on YouTube as well. And then on social media, you can find us at Knicks Fan TV, at CP the Fanchise, and at Team NBA Report on all platforms.
Thanks a lot, CP. And everyone, thanks again for tuning in. Like, share, subscribe. Give us a follow across all of our social media channels at Last Flight Out Podcast. Once again, I'm your host, Jay. You can find me at JLubrio26, and you can find my man, Mike at
If Mike Was Here.
All right, peace. See everybody next time, next week, same time, same place.
Thank you.
Man, thank you, man.
Appreciate man. Yo. Excellent, man.
Great,
Appreciate
man.
it.
Man, you didn't have to do them like that, man. You didn't have to do them like that.
It was film day.
Yeah.
We gotta make a statement.
Exactly. We gotta make a statement.
What's going on, man?
Flat out.